Coming up, I have the current smash by a solo singer who became the lead singer of one of the biggest vocal groups of the early 60s when he unintentionally aced another member out of the job.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Well, now on American Top 40, it's time for the current smash by a singer who says his big break could have cost him his life. You see, back in 1958, Benny King was a member of an unknown group called the Five Crowns, and they were the opening act on a show starring a very successful soul group at the time, the Drifters. Well, after a string of top 20 hits on the R&B charts, the Drifters had decided to break up. But their manager, who owned the rights to the name, didn't like the idea of losing everything that name represented, like recording contracts, lucrative club bookings, and so on. So after seeing the Five Crowns perform and being impressed with their style, he asked them if they'd like to take over the name and become the new Drifters. Well, it sounded like a dream to the young group, but it quickly turned into a nightmare, because somebody forgot to tell the Drifters' loyal fans that there'd be a change. And when the new group went out to perform, the surprised audiences tried to boo and holler and laugh them off the stage, and sometimes they'd throw things, like bottles and chairs, to make their point. And Benny King told us that every time he went on stage, he was afraid for his life. Well, the Drifters went on to become one of the most successful pop groups of the late 50s and early 60s. And in 1960, Benny King went out on his own as a solo artist. This week, he moves up to number 5 with his current smash. Supernatural Thing, Part 1. Supernatural Thing, Part 1 at number 5 in the countdown, second week in the top 10 by Benny King.
American Top 40.
Now on American Top 40, I have the current smash by a solo singer who became lead singer of one of the biggest vocal groups of the early 60s when he unintentionally aced one of his buddies out of the job. The artist is Benny King, and last week I told you how Benny's group, the Five Crowns, took over the name of the popular, well-established R&B group, the Drifters, back in 1958. Well, when they went into the studio to begin recording for the first time as the Drifters, one of the songs they were going to do was co-written by Benny King. The session was being produced by Atlantic Records executive Jerry Wexler, who asked Ben to show the group's lead singer, Charlie Thomas, what he had in mind for the lead vocal. So Ben sang the song, and then Charlie took a crack at it. But it wasn't quite what writer Ben had in mind, so he sang it his way once more. Well, they kept going back and forth that way for quite a while until finally they heard producer Wexler's voice cut in from the control room. He said, "Look, we're not getting anywhere, so, Benny, why don't you just sing it?" So they rolled the tape, and Benny sang. And a few months later, that song, There Goes My Baby, a classic, went all the way to number 2. And Ben E. King became the official lead singer for the Drifters.
American Top 40.
At number 19 this week is Stand By Me, the 1960s hit by Benny King that's back on the charts. Ben's fact sheet reads, full name, Benjamin Earl King. Born 1938 in Henderson, North Carolina. Started singing career in Father's Restaurant in New Jersey. First hit in 1959 as lead singer of the Drifters, song called There Goes My Baby. Then came solo hits, the classic Spanish Harlem and the classic that's come back. Up 4 notches to number 19 this week. Here's Stand By Me. In 1961, that song hit number 4. In 1986, it climbs 4 notches to number 19 this week. Stand By Me by Benny King, back on the chart and still sounding great as the countdown continues.